Let me just ask your top-line reaction, where you were when you heard the president's remarks today and what you thought.
Well, I was watching it on TV, but I just have to thank you because you know, prior to listening to your coverage right now, I did think that he had just come unhinged. But the fact that you laid out that this was actually deliberate is actually insightful. And it's left me with a thought. You know, all of the things that he's done, the Russia, the corruption, etc., while all that noise is happening, you know, the real danger is in his administration and some of the policies. So just take one department, the Department of Justice, the rollback of affirmative action, the Civil Rights Division, the consent decrees, all of the things that have happened that actually have very clear racial implications. And what he did today was essentially give license to the racists to keep up their protests. I mean, he gets a high five from David Duke right after. So maybe part of what he is doing is his response to the united front resistance that has taken place all across this country. I mean, even the demonstrations that happened over the weekend, many of the demonstrators were white, which I think is wonderful because it shows that racism is not just an issue that impacts people of color, it impacts our country as a whole. And so, you know, it was pretty devastating to hear him essentially give approval to Nazis and to the Klan. But maybe we need to understand that this is now a new strategy to essentially give a green light to the alt-right to go ahead and organize. And you have my full blessing and the blessing of the Department of Justice to do that. I think that's the message from today.
And with that green light, what you just described as essentially him giving them license, I think the thing that I'm trying to really wrap my head around is what they can do with that license, as you described it from the president, that they wouldn't otherwise do, that they couldn't otherwise do. How does that enable them, empower them, embolden them, make them stronger? I don't know what to expect. I mean, I've been watching the American right for a long time, both as a student of history and just over the course of my lifetime. And I've seen lots of different types of racist organizing and Nazi skinhead organizing and all those sorts of things, up close and personal. I've grown up with it. The thing I don't know how to anticipate is what happens when a president gives that license, when a president says yes, how that changes that movement. Do you have any sense of knowing what's coming down the pike here?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you think of his policy, so just imagine one. You know, he started this voter suppression commission, which is what I call it, because it has nothing to do with protecting the right or expanding the right to vote. So you have a voter suppression commission, you have elections that are coming up, and when you have communities that organize against these policies, the next time there's a police shooting, for example, Black Lives Matter goes out, I think the license that he's giving is, you go ahead and you attack these demonstrators, and you know what? You're not going to be prosecuted. We're not going to come after you. Now, when I heard that the Department of Justice was going to do an investigation into the demonstration, I wouldn't be shocked for 1 minute if they came back and they proposed charges against both sides because they equated it. And so I think that as we are organizing to resist this administration, we need to keep a very careful watch on movements now that come from the right and whether or not they're going to get increasingly violent. That's the license I think he gave today, which was go right ahead, go at it.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, member of the leadership of the Congressional Black Caucus, represents California in the House of Representatives.